My name is Sandra Grauschoff, and I'm the customer marketer here at Loxo. And I'm joined here today by Lex, who's our head of brand and content, and by Natalia, who's going to be walking you through this presentation. Unfortunately, we cannot provide any individual support today. If you do have follow-up questions about your specific account or how to do something you need more guidance, please reach out to support by clicking the question mark icon on your Loxo platform if you're a Loxo customer, or reaching out to us at support@loxo.co. And that's everything. I can hand it over to you, Natalia.
I'm so excited to be with all of you here in our February webinar. This is the first of a series that we're hoping to have for all of you about repeatable success. The one that I'm presenting to you is kicking us off about the world of recruiting and how to actually stop improvising so we can start scaling. And I will be showing you how to actually master this science of repeatable success. So you might be thinking, okay, who is this actually for? In this room right now, there's people that are probably individual recruiters that feel like every time they log in because they have a new search that they need to work in, they're like, oh my God, I need to reinvent the wheel. Like, I need to start my new search, finding new candidates, put them again in pipeline, and start from scratch every single time. But you want to stop doing that. Another scenario is probably because you're a team lead, but you have no actual visibility in terms of what your siloed recruiters are doing. So you don't know what is working, or even if, for example, you're a member of a team and you know that you're outperforming and you're doing wonderful, but maybe your manager doesn't have visibility over your successes, and you want this to actually help you and your team scale. If this is one of you, I feel like you're going to get so much out of this webinar because we've presented something that is going to be very linked to this philosophy of mastering the science of repeatable success. So you might be asking yourself, who is this woman that's talking to me about workflows and repeatable success? I am Natalia Bullett. I have worked in customer success and account management for plus 5 years and helped coach hundreds of recruiters start implementing and actually leveraging their tools, their system to become more successful and keep scaling their system, their performance, and keep growing as a team as a whole. I am really just hoping that the objective of today's session will leave you with 3 things. Obviously, the philosophy of why we're here, because you all have a way of working. May it be because you're an individual recruiter, or because you're part of a team, or you're a team lead. But maybe you want to take a few questions back and analyze the way that you're working, may it be as a process, or it could be a workflow, and start asking yourself if this is working to your advantage, what does and what isn't. And that would actually lead really nicely into a repeatable recruiting workflow, specifically a model. And then we'll show you an example of how this looks like in Loxo. Okay, let's kick things off with this particular question. How do you scale right now? You could be yourself as a recruiter or as a team lead, but how are you growing right now in terms of getting more jobs and start getting those jobs filled? Pop those answers into the comment section over here, and I'll try to read them as we go. How are you actually scaling right now? There's no right or wrong answer. So I see over here, we've got Scott saying, reaching out to people that I have worked with in the past. That's a great one. Jennifer pulling resumes from different sources and putting into job workflows. Referrals are such a good one because sometimes they're a good cultural match. Networking, outreach with email campaigns, speaking to candidates for leads. These are all great. And there's so many different ways. So keep those top of mind, and we'll actually lead this really nicely into the anatomy of high output workflow. Okay, so when we want to understand what a good workflow is, especially a high output workflow, we need to break it down into different pieces. because we might be seeing and we might be hearing from different angles that we can be successful and we can scale our business or ourselves as recruiters from different aspects. A lot of you have mentioned these are really good. Okay, I'll talk with my network, I'll find referrals. But there are other ones that sometimes can be a little bit misleading and they can definitely help. For example, hiring more recruiters and bringing more recruiters into your team, or adding new tools like an outreach AI tool that you also open a new tab and it helps you write an email sequence, or even just like giving your best job, like your difficult jobs to your star recruiter and having them do everything like as much as possible because you know that they're going to fill that job nice and quickly. Yes, these are all really good and they will get you to a certain point to help you scale until it will probably bring you to a standstill. I usually like to bring this in terms of a metaphor. Think of you buying a new house and you've got the foundations of your house not strong enough to actually keep building more floors on top of it, especially as your family is growing. Maybe you want to add a third floor, fourth floor, and things are getting more hectic, more busy. So the more that you add more people into your system and the more tools that you add on or that you bolt on, they are actually creating more cracks in that foundation because it's bringing more chaos into your foundation. So this can actually be seen in your recruiting team just by having a lot of siloed recruiters. So maybe they're going to close the door on you and they're not going to leave their room because they like their little environment of their own room and they're not sharing their knowledge with the rest of the team. That is like siloed recruiting. Everyone is keeping their information to themselves and the process is working differently from person to person. What that means is that leadership on top of that won't have knowledge in terms of what is being successful and maybe what needs to be honed down on and what needs to be improved. So those best practices that maybe your star recruiter is doing aren't actually being visible for other recruiters that might benefit from their knowledge. Every search is actually starting to feel a little bit like a brand new search and you feel like you're starting from the beginning. So that being said, the goal in essence is for every single brilliant recruiter that's working within your team or yourself to become an intelligent organization. You work as a whole, and what knowledge one recruiter has built, it starts compounding over time with your entire team. Because if you scale with quality, this means that it's also repeatable. Everyone should be working in the same environment and in the same way. This leads very nicely into our core idea. Ask yourself, am I working more towards a process or am I more of a workflow person? And you might be saying, okay, aren't they kind of synonyms, process, workflow? Same thing, we're reaching the same objective, right? Yes and no. A process, think of it more as a checklist, tasks that you're just like checking off of your list. Like when you wake up in the morning, you wake up, you go, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you get dressed, you get out of the door and you head into the office and you grab your car or you take public transport, whatever it is. It's just a standard process, right? However, if there's something within that process that might not go as planned, like for example, your alarm isn't going to ring or you actually run out of toothpaste or they decided to close the water in your entire neighborhood or the trains aren't running, this could actually lead to your process having a stutter, like just stumbling into a little bit of chaos. And that is something that you don't want. Versus, for example, if you're working in a workflow. Working in a workflow is different in the sense that it's a feedback loop. All of the information that you have been gathering throughout time is starting to compound and it's already becoming an intelligent system. It knows how you perform, how you work, and it's going to help you in the background. That is a feedback loop. That is a workflow. Are you using a process or are you using a workflow? And to make it a little bit easier, let's grab these three examples. Let's take a look at something that I like to call Monday resets, but they might be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it is for you. Monday resets are, for example, if you're an individual recruiter, part of a team, or a team lead, you get a new search and you have to go into your computer and you have to create this job in your mind. And you have to say, okay, they're asking for an account executive. However, those CVs are outdated. I do not remember where I put their contact information. I can't remember if I actually did manage to take this candidate all the way into the final rounds of interviews. Or maybe, did they actually get hired? All these questions. You actually have to come in and you have a complete Monday reset of knowledge. If you are within a workflow, you will actually come in, you will create your job, and the system will actually suggest similar candidates for the job that you're already working on, because maybe you or someone in your team has had this type of vacancy with similar candidates. So they will be recommended to you for your particular workflow. Another example would be the best recruiter leaving. There is going to be star recruiters in teams, or maybe you're the star recruiter of your firm, or maybe if you're an in-house recruiter, there's going to be someone that is working heavily with the team that's growing the most. So maybe like the software engineering team or AI, for example. But let's say that recruiter leaves and you're left with no knowledge as to where they left their processes, who they were in conversation with, or where they actually kept the CVs. Because whatever knowledge that they were gathering and the process that was working for them, nobody has knowledge about it. They don't know what was working for them, and it becomes very difficult. If you're within a workflow, what this actually means is that you will just log in and you will see, let's say John was your star recruiter, you will see John's work right there. You will know exactly where things were left off and where you need to pick up. That's what's going to be a workflow. Market shifts. This is something that's affecting us in many different ways right now, right? We're seeing that AI and technology is booming, and we're getting all these tools being suggested to us, and we're starting to create and sign up to more things that obviously become more expensive. And they do help us, but maybe some recruiters know about it, some of them don't. And what you want is a place that grows with you, because a process might be living in your head or in a PDF that maybe nobody goes and looks at, versus a workflow, which is a place where everyone intrinsically knows what they're supposed to do because it's all living in the same environment. So you have this idea of, we know that there's a process, we know that there's a workflow. But if you want to lean more towards a workflow that helps your entire team keep building on that, what do you actually need to be able to be effective? Usually we like to take a look at it from different perspectives, because we know that in this current webinar, there's people that have so many different roles. We've got individual recruiters, or we've got team members, or we've got team leads, or even owners of agencies that are getting started with their firms, right? So let's take a look at it in terms of what you need to build if you are an individual recruiter for this to be a successful workflow. If you're an individual recruiter, what you want from this workflow is a place where you know that a few months ago you did a search, and now you can go in and check out who your silver medalists for that job were, because you're going to be working on a similar job right now. That's compounding knowledge for you. You can also start using in the same system contact data. Everything lives in one particular place. You don't have to open a billion tabs to find additional information. You're always living in the same environment. If you're working as part of a team, there's great things that you get out of a workflow. One of them being, if someone, for example, goes on holiday or they get sick, you want to be able to jump in and actually let the process or the workflow keep working for you, because it's already there for you. It's not going to be a reinvention of having to call someone and be like, oh, hi, did you actually remember to email XYZ person? We really need to get them into an interview. No, You'll actually see it all in one place. This is what being part of a team within a workflow looks like. What you want is that if you're working from a workflow and Sandra gathers knowledge and I gather knowledge, and then Lex gathers more information, this is actually building on top of everything that we have been bringing in together. Because Sandra might have spoken to a candidate in the past that might be really good for a vacancy that I'm working on right now. This is what you want from an effective workflow. And then let's say that you're a leader. How would you benefit? What do you need from this workflow? What you need is a place where everyone lives and where you can easily gather insights about your recruiting team and about the job performance. Who is successful, what needs a little bit of work, and what you can focus yourself on. Okay, so to sum this all up, what does an ideal workflow scenario actually look like? This ideal workflow is where all of you live in one space because you start collecting information that starts compounding and building on top of each other instead of having to restart from the beginning. And that leads really nicely into what this looks like in Loxo. So let me quickly jump into Loxo so I can share it with you. So over here, if you are a recruiter, if you're part of a team, what you want to do is eventually just have everything really nice and quick, right? You get your new search, you want to put it up, and you want to start finding candidates for it. Let's say that I am looking for an account executive over here. Wherever I'm seeing these little stars, it actually means that AI is going to be thoughtfully helping me in the process. It's not AI just for the sake of AI, like everything is right now. It's actually thought about. It's implemented there for a reason. In this particular scenario, AI is helping us with candidates. So it knows that we're looking for account executives, and it's automatically going to give us some account executives that might fit the bill for what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and let's create this job for Loxo, and we're going to make it a remote job. You can obviously change visibility in case you're working on just more confidential jobs. And then you can go ahead and click continue. As soon as you head into this space, you've already created your job, so it lives in one place. You can go ahead and start sourcing for candidates. You can go into this public database that has like over 1.2 billion candidates in here, but you can also start taking a look at your internal database. I want to add them in. I think that they would be ideal for this job. And I can go in, start reviewing this list and saying yes and maybe to them. Obviously, as recruiters, you will work a lot with keywords and Booleans. You can also leverage NLS if you're looking for a wider net of candidates, but this will help you narrow down that list by using that internal or public database. Once you're ready, you start just clicking into the people that you want to bring into your pipeline. So we've gone ahead and we've added these people. They're already part of my database, so they should have contact information. And I'm going to take a look at what our pipeline looks like. We've already created the job. We've already sourced for candidates. We've created a pipeline. And for those people who are in our shortlist, the system has automatically found or searched for their contact data because it is already part of this workflow. So you've done quite a few different steps that have already saved you a lot of time. Once you've actually taken a look at all of these candidates and you're ready to start reaching out to them, maybe they were cold candidates, maybe they're not. Let's say that these ones were cold. You can tell the system that you're ready to create an outreach campaign. So it's going to be a sequence of emails, for example. So you start warming them up and you start letting them know that there's this vacancy happening. All of this has happened so far without us leaving your workflow. And let's say, for example, that Lex, because she's in marketing, she's absolutely wonderful at writing outreach campaigns. And I know that she helps someone in the account executive team write a great template for account executives and for getting them in the pipeline. So what I can go ahead and do is go into our templates over here and select that really successful outreach campaign and use it as this template for this particular section. Or if we're really starting new and we want an idea, we can use AI to help us leverage here. And once again, AI over here is thoughtful. It's implemented here for a reason. So it will gather information from your job description if you added one, or from the way that you source candidates to be able to build these different email sequences. What this will do is that whatever candidates you start putting into your outbound section, within 15 minutes, the system will attempt to email them about this job. And maybe in the next 2 days, they will get a new one until you start hearing back from them. Let's start saying that you have heard back from these 3 candidates and you decided to screen them. They've done really well. What you want to do next is maybe submit them to your candidates, to your hiring managers. Once you've submitted these candidates, you can choose whatever is best for your hiring managers. There's some that are going to prefer a PDF presentation, for example, of, okay, what have you done? Give me the highlights, give me the general information. Obviously, you can go ahead and you can tweak it, but this presentation is all living within the same system. So you can go ahead and you can edit it as well. Or let's say that you have someone that likes more bounce back and more communication. You can then jump into the share section, which is the client portal. Client portals are really great in terms of having a safe and secure space, because you do have to sign in and you get to review the profile or as much information as you want to share from a candidate and see, it's like, oh, Bruce, okay, account executive, etc., etc. Yeah, they seem like they could be a really good match for this job. Let me interview them. And you, as a recruiter on your side, you're going to see a little memo over here that says, oh, my hiring manager said that this person was wonderful. They want to actually go ahead and interview them. I'll just go ahead and say that we're going into our first client interview and click save on that. What this does is that it keeps an order for everything. You know exactly what you're doing. And now Bruce is in the interviewing stage. Everything has been living in a specific order. We have created the job. We've sourced for candidates, in this particular scenario, from our internal database, but you can do it from the public database as well. You have found their contact data. You have created an outreach campaign and put them in an outreach campaign. You have submitted them to your hiring managers, and you have progressed them along into the interview stages, all the way to them getting hired and you creating that placement card with all of the details of information and the splits. But let's say that this isn't enough for you. You also want to understand where things went really well and where things maybe you could have improved on. Within the same job, you'll always be able to go back and understand the analytics of your job by heading into the reports. So you can see the pipeline insights over time, or the current one. You can see job insights. If anyone rejected, you get a good percentage in terms of, okay, we're getting a lot of drop-offs because they're saying that the salary is too low. This is a great case in point for me to go back to the hiring manager and say for them to increase the salary because we're not at market standards. If you want to also start talking about candidate funnel, percentage-wise, it's also all living in the same place. And if you want to get candidate insights in terms of, oh, I'm actually showing my hiring managers a lot of people from Gotham City, for example, maybe this is exactly the place that I want to focus on, or maybe this is the industry that I want to focus on. And this will help you carry out the story for this job and for future account executive jobs that you are working on. If you are a team lead, these reports are great for individual perspectives, but let's say that you are also quite curious to understand the general picture. This also helps really well when you want to move the needle and you want to understand everything a little bit better. So you can jump into the report section. You can take a look at all types of reports, but you can also start building reports that tackle different sides of your business. They could be related to the activities that are happening for each individual candidate or within a job, for example, You can do it for your jobs in particular. You can do it for your people. People are usually between like candidates or people insights, which are also clients of yours. And you can also go ahead and take a look at revenue or tasks that you have done within your team. So, as a team lead, having this knowledge, gathering this insight is actually going to help you grow and gather and more compound knowledge about how your team is performing. So this is a very quick overview of what a workflow in Loxo looks like from the moment that you create a job all the way to getting a candidate hired to you being a team lead and understanding these metrics that are leading behind all of it. To close things off about what a workflow is, it's mostly work that becomes inevitable because it's a succession of things. And this actually is going to lead really nicely into our upcoming webinar with Viv. It's going to take place on the 19th of March at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We've left a QR code over here at the top right for you so you can scan it. Today was mostly about gathering that concept of what repeatable success in your workflow looks like. What you will be talking about with Vivian is going to be more nitty-gritty, more detailed. You're going to be defining a winning search for your team, but you're also going to be taking a look at what ratios look like so you can analyze these results and you can improve in time. You can turn this data into insights. There's going to be a little bit more of what I've said before, that magnifying glass, so you can make this concept more tangible for you and for your team.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining. If there were questions we didn't get to, please do reach out to support if you're a Loxo customer. We'll be happy to help you through that channel where we can give more individual advice. And please do also check out those webinar resources because we do have very in-depth looks at how to do sourcing, how to use natural language search. Email deliverability is something people ask a lot about. We have a lot of really great information there. So thanks so much. Please do take a moment to fill out the poll that you'll get when we close. And yes, I'll send out a copy of the recording. And I'll see you all next time, I hope.
Thank you again. Take care. Bye.
Bye.